That is the point. Now, let me end with this story here. I liked it so much. Somebody sent it to me from Kenya. I don't know whether any one of you read about it, about Ezra and Thomas. Have you heard of it? No? Okay, let's read it together about this principle of going the extra mile. This is the way to promotion in life, going an extra mile. This is the difference between Ezra and Thomas. Let us read together so that you don't sleep, okay? So that you don't doze. Let's start, okay? Ezra and Thomas joined a company together a few months after their graduation from university. After a few years of work, their manager promoted Ezra to a position of senior sales manager, but Thomas remained in his entry-level junior sales officer position. Thomas developed a sense of jealousy and disgruntlement, but continued working anyway. One day, Thomas felt that he could not work with Ezra anymore. He wrote his resignation letter, but before he submitted it to the manager, he complained that management did not value hard-working staff, but only promoted only the favored. The manager knew that Ezra worked very hard for the years he had spent at the company, harder than Thomas, and therefore he deserved the promotion. So in order to help Thomas to realize this, the manager gave Thomas a task. Go and find out if anyone is selling watermelon in town. Thomas returned and said, yes, there is someone. The manager asked, how much per kilo? Thomas drove back to town to ask and then returned to inform the manager. They are 13.5 per kilo. These are Kenya shillings, okay? Okay. The manager told Thomas, I will give Ezra the same task that I gave you. Please pay close attention to his response. So the manager said to Ezra, in the presence of Thomas, go and find out if anyone is selling watermelons in town. Ezra went to find out, and on his return, he said, manager, there is only one person selling watermelon, whole town. The cost is 49 shillings each watermelon and 32.5 for half a melon. He sells them at 13.5 per kilo when sliced. He has in his stock 93 melons, each one weighing about 7 kilograms. He has a farm and can supply us with melons for the next 4 months at a rate of 102 melons per day at 27 Kenya shillings per melon. This includes delivery. The melons appear fresh and red with good quality, and they taste better than the ones we sold last year. He has his own slicing machine and is willing to slice for us free of charge. We need to strike a deal with him before 10 a.m. tomorrow, and he will be sure of beating last year's profits in melons by 223,000 Kenya shillings. This will contribute positively to our overall performance, as it will add a minimum of 3.78% to our current overall sales target. I have put this information down in writing and is available on spreadsheet. Please let me know if you need it, as I can send it to you in 15 minutes. Thomas was very impressed and realized the difference between himself and Ezra. He decided not to resign, but to learn from Ezra. Wow. How many Thomases do we have here? Don't put up your hand. How many Ezras do we have here? You can see now. This is the real problem. This is the real problem is in our life. Do you agree with me? Yes. Look, he gave them exactly the same assignment, the same words. Thomas came back with only 4 words. Yeah? The answer with only what? 4 words. Yeah? And then he asked him how much. He didn't even ask for what? And so he had to drive back. This is the cost government is incurring with people like what? Thomas. You spend so much. You go to Hoima for good and say, oh, we need to go back. So you drive per diem. Oh, the same thing that would have taken a very short time costs us so much. Because most of the government workers we have are Thomases. They only go so, only. You struggle with the Thomases so much. They are so entitled. They're always complaining. Nze tebankuziza. Nze tebandaba wo. Balaba wo oli. Kumbe, the other one is Ezra. For you are Thomas. You are always complaining. You are always doing only so little. And you have to earn as much as possible. Look at the difference here. Ezra, at the same time, and he has gone, and he's so motivated that he always looks for, it's as if the company is his. Do you see the difference? Do you think when Ezra goes and starts his company, do you think that company will fail? Look at the time he puts in, even the percentages, even what it will cost, even spreadsheet. He has already done it. Yeah? He has already calculated the spreadsheet, how it will be, the color. He has gotten into so much details. Now I want you to put your hand on your neighbor and say, Lord, I pray for this Thomas, that you turn him into an Ezra. In the name. Now, if Thomas resigns in that company and goes and starts his own company, what will he be? That company will fail. Those are the people who retire from government, from university. When you find them, the shoes are all gone. They have one shirt, yet they have all the information in the what? In the head. They have all the degrees, they have all the papers, but they can't make it in life. The values that we are talking about are timeless. They affect everybody. And we really want to join hands that we take this to our young people. Let's turn all our Thomases into Ezras. That all the students who attend your class, you turn them from Thomas to what? To Ezra. All of them. You decide that every single day before your lecture, you give them one nugget of truth. So that by the time you have finished your class, you have turned Thomases into what? Ezras. And this is your responsibility. This is how God is going to honor you. And say, thank you, good and faithful servant. You transformed all the students I gave you. You, as long as you are teaching, you are a pastor. Pastoring is not a title, it's a function. So you are pastoring those students with godly values. You don't just pass on information, you also pass on character. By your life, by how you say it, by how you show that you care for them, you are interested in them not just passing exams, but being successful in life. That is true pastoral responsibility. And then if you do that, the Lord will honor that so much and will bless you and prosper every work that you do. This is your calling. Can you welcome your neighbor now as a pastor? Pastor, so, every teacher is a pastor. Do we have people here who have many other pastors under them? Anyone here? That one is now a bishop. If you have more other... A bishop means you have many pastors under you. When you start to see yourself like that, you'll be amazed at the impact you'll have. You start to realize these students, as long as they're in my hands, I'm not just appealing to their mental capacity. I'm not just teaching them. I want to transform their character. Head, heart, hands, and house. You remember the 4H we started with in Sarah? Do you remember the 4H? Anybody who wasn't with us? How many were with us in Esera, the first retreat? Okay, you remember we dealt with the 4H. The holistic education includes all the 4. That tells you why there's a difference between Thomas and Ezra. The 4H is one is the head, the heart, the hands, and the what? The house. This one has to do with academic head, academic knowledge. This one, character. This one is skills. This one is community responsibility, community awareness and responsibility. So this is the holistic education. And when you commit to transforming your students like that, there's no limit to the blessing that will flow from God. All the 4H, that is your true pastoral responsibility. Okay. This story helps us to understand the importance of going an extra mile in everything we do. Make this your goal in life. Go the extra mile with all that you do and in every area of your life. You see, you can only do this when you are delivered from working for money. That's why I told you it takes understanding that for you, you enjoy your work. Do you see, Ezra is not thinking about what? Money. In that case, he's committed to make this company succeed so much that everything he does, he said, let's strike the deal by 10 o'clock tomorrow so that we can, it's as if it is his own. And if you've been faithful in another man's vineyard, the Bible says, God will entrust you with your own. And that's exactly what will happen to yours when you start the company. Your company will succeed in the same way. Because you have been so committed to make your boss succeed, this hotel where you work succeed, the university succeed. So when you start your own, you are just reaping what you have always been doing. That is the way to promotion. Lesson is, you will not be promoted for doing what you are meant to do. You only get a salary for that. Can we read it together? Okay? You will not be promoted for doing what you are meant to do. You only get a salary for that. Number 2, you are only rewarded for going an extra mile, performing beyond expectation. Do you remember what we read in Colossians? Let's read that passage. You read it earlier. Knowing with all certainty that it is from the Lord and not from men that you receive the inheritance which is your real reward. The one whom you are actually serving is the Lord. You are serving the Lord. Now, another one. Think more, have a more holistic perspective, and we go beyond the call of duty. The result is what? And authority. The kingdom authority comes when you are like that. You get so much authority. You become an authority in every field where you are. People come to you for what? For advice, for what? Because for you, any topic you touch, anything you touch, you are really an expert. You are not a mediocre like Thomas. Even when they send you for watermelons, you become an expert in watermelon in that short time. Look at how this young man, Ezra, is already in a very short time. He has all the information on his fingertips, and they already put it in spreadsheet. And he can give it to you in 15 minutes. How do you like that? How do you like that? Do you want to be Ezra?
Oh, yes, I am.
You already? Oh, clap for him. He's already an Ezra here. Okay. You doubt. You say that you are doubting Thomas. Yes, now I can go into the questions. Okay. Let me go into the questions that you raised, especially the one based on what I had shared earlier. about the people always complain that how can God punish the children? To the third and what? That they say God is not fair. Isn't that what you are saying? God is not fair, but he's just. Fairness is the human level. Justice is the divine what? Can I have 4 of you stand? Or the 4 of you? Now, let's start with you. Okay. So these are the different generations, starting with him, who is the parent of this one, including you, Shebu. Yes. So that God punishes the sins of the fathers upon children for 4 generations. Listen, he punishes the sins of the parents on their children for 4 generations. 1, 2, these are the children. 1, 2, 3, 4. You understand that? The parents, okay? This is Ziweta. This is Ziweta. His children is Ziwambaza. This one is Kulazikulabe. This one is Zajandaba. Biekwaso. Those are the names we are talking about. Okay. Now, this one lives in Bukunja, Buyikwe. Mobasezi. This one is the one who, Ziweta was the one who was the night dancer. He ate all the dead bodies. There's none in the village. Okay? And he bewitched all the community. And when he died, everybody celebrated. Now, that is past, when God, his justice is such that because even a few days before he died, he kept sowing. So who will reap that? Because on this world, every evil has to be punished and every good has to be paid. You understand that? So his justice is such that he will stop the wicked from overthrowing his system. If he does not do that, the wicked will overthrow his what? System. So he has an inbuilt system to stop them. Adam lived longer and the generations after him because evil was not as much as we have today. What keeps limiting evil is the shortening of what? Life, death, and all that. It's part of his system. It's like the ecological system. Why do lions die? Why are they fewer? Because if there were many, they would finish. You understand that? So the lion, there is an inbuilt system where the male lions even kill the what? The young one, you know. So the lions are not so many because they would destroy all the others. So the system, the ecological system God made is such that it is self-regulating. It regulates itself. So is this wickedness. So wherever you allow wickedness, it automatically starts to limit your lineage because you've chosen to be wicked, to be a night dancer. If this night dancer produces, on this generation, produces 100, and they're all night dancers, they spread all over Chagwe, and they're not dying, and they're taking so long, look at the evil they're going to do and accomplish. So God has an inbuilt system to limit that wicked. The wickedness of this family will now limit them. They cannot succeed, they cannot, that is his justice system. It's part of his ecological system. If they are good, now you remain standing. Let me get the good ones in that line. That line. Your line is stand up. Okay. Okay. So let me get another one on this line. Okay. Okay. So this has been a good man. Self-sacrificing. This one is Ziweta. How about this one? Eh? Mukisa. Okay. So Mukisa has lived a very self-sacrificing life. Everybody in the village, he wasn't very rich, but he shared everything he had. He contributed to the children in the village who didn't have school fees. So he lived all his life like that. So what does God do? Because he wants to promote that, his generation after him start to reap the goodness of that. And when God is blessing, he blesses for 1,000 generations. When he is cursing, he only ends at the 4 generations. Can you wave to God and say, oh, thank you very much? So the evil will end at only 4 generations. But the blessings continue for 1,000 generations. That's why we are continuing to be blessed by Abraham. Abraham will still enjoy the blessings of what? Abraham. So this man, although he was poor, although he didn't have much, the sacrifices he made for others in the community, elsewhere, his children become the 3 things that God gives to those people who serve his kingdom. Did you come with your 3 fingers? Okay, put them up. The first one he gives is prosperity. The second is leadership. The third is a great name. So you'll find that people who have served God, their children either become leaders of sorts, they become very prosperous, and then they get big what? Names, great name. That's what God told David. David has served me faithfully. I'll give him a throne that all the time he'll always have somebody to lead on his throne. That is leadership. Number 2, David was very prosperous. And then number 3, a great name. Every time you talk about Abraham, then you talk about Moses. The third one is who? David. So those 3. So whatever you are doing now, if you are living a sacrificial life, those are automatic. Now, some of you who come from areas where the East African revival worked, I want you to think. Think about the people like Mukisa have said. They were poor, they were not very educated, but the revival impacted them and they changed. You check on them all, their children are the leaders today. Then you will see that. This is something that you can't debate on. The leaders you have today, you go and check on all of them. They have roots in the East African revival. Because their parents, with the very little knowledge they had, they lived it all. They served, they sacrificed. So 3 things that God gives: leadership, prosperity, and what else? Amen. Yes. Even when they don't walk in the ways of their fathers, because God is faithful, he will still continue to bless them. Because he's faithful to Mukisa, not necessarily the name. What is your name? Biamukama. Kati Mukisa. The sacrifices. You remember David, King David? He was a godly man. Who was his son who became heir? Was Solomon godly as his father? Solomon became so, he lost it all. He was so promiscuous. He married 700 wives and 300 assistants. 1,000. Yeah? If he gave one a chisanja every night, it would take him 1 year to go back where he had started. 3 years to go back to where. Can you imagine such a person? But God said, because of my servant, I will not punish. So is God unfair? Are you still insisting that God is unjust? Because he has to be fair to David, or just to David, so that all his sacrifice is what? So we don't look at it that way. For him, he's still remembering the promise he made to David. And he has to be sure that he blesses Solomon, even though Solomon did not fully walk in the ways of the Lord. Yeah? Now, some of those people you see were very, very business-smart and successful. Kutesa's father, you know Sam Kutesa? His father died on a pulpit in Gahini. Yes, he was preaching in Gahini in Rwanda. It's very difficult to compete with Kutesa. Now, he may not be godly. He may be doing all many things that you don't like. But you need to realize that for God, for him is still Faithful to what? That will answer so many of your questions. Now, you'll go back and you start to see these things differently when you understand that principle. Now you can see some of those people say, even this one, even. Yes, because God is what? Now you understand. So, this one was godly, the children. Now, if this man, Mukisa, was godly, he was serving God, so those children will continue to enjoy the what? The blessing. If this starts to be evil, and then this evil, and then this evil will still be what? Punished. There are people who have both the blessing and the what? The punishment. So they will have the promotion, they will have the prosperity, they will have the power, but along with that, they will have sicknesses, diseases, the what? They are always going to Germany for what? For treatment, for India. They die young, but with all the prosperity, but they die what? Yeah, because along the way, in addition to the blessing they inherited, they added so much evil of their own. Do you see the point? Now for this one, there's nothing you can remember from Kaulu Leo, this one of Ziweta. So it continues from generation to what? Now if the children also add, it is compounded many times over. If one of them, Auntie, that's where I'm coming now, okay? Now, when you look at this generation, you are the one here now, okay? Now, when you look at Biekwas, Biekwas has two parents on this level, two parents here, 4 grandparents, isn't it? Yes. 8 great-grandparents. How many are those? 2, 4, 8 is what? 14. And then he has how many on this level? 16 on this level. Those are 30 people that are affecting you directly where you're seated now. You have 30 people. Yes. 16, 8, 4, and 2. So you, wherever you are, where you're seated now, you have 30 people behind. In addition, if they send you, Biekwaso, katiba kusindise, ewakojao. If Biekwaso comes and grows ewakoja, in Uganda, ewakoja, means you are not in that clan. Gwe mujwa. You know what they call mujwa? Yamalebiki. Do you know what that means? Every time there are curses, they send them in the what? Omujwa kubanga mwana wachi wa omuwala it does not belong to this clan. So if somebody, for example, commits suicide, are you aware of that? In Uganda, if they find somebody who has committed suicide, you don't touch them because you'll go with their curses. They call omujwa omwana wa omuwala because si wachike ekyo. So yajja n'amukwata kubanga ye ne bwagenda n'ebikolimo. Si waabwe. Hey. So when they have a funeral rites, you know how the funeral rites we bakola ensisira when the rumbe ngaluwedde bani abajjawo ensisira abajjwa because they are the one who take the curses. So now if apart from his great grandfather Ziweta, now Biekwas has come into this house, in this home, and they have added more. So by the time he comes to Markele, you wonder why he never makes any success in anything that you do. He's always struggling. That comes. Now, does he have opportunity to, yes, come, Biekwas. So Biekwas can choose to say, ebyo because mbikoi. He denounces that, to accommodate Biekwaso. So Biekwaso can choose to say, nze ebyo byonna because byeganye obusezi bwa jjajjange mbweganye. Byonna you can start afresh. That's what God did to Abraham. God told Abraham, leave your country, leave your clan, you leave your father's house. I'll go and give you a new beginning. so that I bless you, because where you are in Iraq, present-day Iraq is where he was. You cannot be blessed. Your fathers are worshiping idols. They are doing all these sorts of things. I'm going to start afresh so that you will be blessed, and out of you, through you, all the nations of the earth shall be what? Have you read that? That's what he told Abraham. So you can denounce all those bad things your father did by stopping to do what he did. Yali akuba bakazi, yali akwana nnyo, yali asera nnyo, yali polygamy, taisha skati. Now, if you continue in his ways, those curses continue to affect you. But if you denounce his ways, and you said, for me, I'm going to live a different what? Life. And then we as priests have power to pray for people, and they're totally free. You are looking at somebody who had the same problems. I had a sickness which could never go. I was always in hospital. They checked my blood, there was no problem. They would take the blood, check, and there's no, machines don't see demons. The doctor is saying like this, the demon is just laughing there. So they could not find anything. Yes, I was sick. I lived on tablets, injections every day until 1st of January 1987 when I was totally delivered. For 37 years, I don't know medicine, I don't know injections, I don't know hospital. And every time I did everything, it failed. Even when you put me in your business, it would collapse. So that's how bad mine was. So now, I'm blessed. So you can be free from that. Another thing, listen to this one. All of us have opportunity in every generation to choose God or to choose the bad ways. You can choose God and say, no, for me, I'll leave it. Like now you've listened to the teaching here. You can choose. The opportunity is that the first time you hear it, you say, I'll go for this. You understand that? You decide, I've heard about Ezra and Thomas. Today I'm changing. And God honors that because you've honored and embraced his word. He'll honor it so much because he has given an opportunity to hear and you have responded with obedience. Are you the one, Mukisa, who talked about obedience? Faith and obedience go together. If you choose to obey, then he will make up for all the good because he has power to erase the what? The past and break and destroy the claims on your life. Yes. Okay. Now, you come here. Let me. Auntie, that's why I want to show it, okay? So you come, you are the blessed, she's the cursed. Okay? Yeah? With the cows? When you have a curse, the curse can destroy all the cows. So when people come to get married, this one has come with what? With blessings, and this one has come with what? So when we married the two, and we said, now bring it back, come with something, carry something, carry that one. Now you carry something also, bring something big, like that one. Bag, like this one. This one is full of what? Blessings. And then this one is full of what? Curses. And in part of his blessings also has some curses here also, remember. So when we come and say, anyone who has a reason why these two should not get married, there's none. So then at the end, then I will say, based on the powers given to me by the state and God, I now declare them husband and what? And wife. Now, when they start to match, you now match. While you oh, Ludeo, oh, kumpasa, oh. Now, now, we are not. We are not only joining people, we are also joining the what? That's why you find somebody will tell you, okuva lwe nawasa ebintu byange byonna byayonoone. Before I got married, I had no problem. But from the time I got what? Kubanga you added not only the what? The emikono what? Ne cases nazo zakola ki? Zagirako. And from that moment, you see, this cash starts to what? To eat the what? The blessings. This one, you see, you get with the right hand and you lose with the left hand. Everything you get, so you are blessed in a way because this one is blessed. They make, they do business and they receive. But as soon as they receive, they lose it. Have you heard of such people? They get and then they lose. They get and then they what? They have both. They have both. Yeah? The blessings are strong because they get. Every time they do business, yeah? They get because they are blessed. But also the cash is there. So they get it and they lose it. Yeah. 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 Which one? The side chick Mbarikawa, side chick. He wants to add you. You people, you want to add a side chick. First, wait. Let me finish this. I know you have many questions. But this is why you find, for example, if Biekwas first come back here. When Biekwaso starts a business, a ministry, a church, let me give you a living example in a good way. You know Gary Skinner Gary Skinner is the fourth generation. And all of them were what? Pastors. And so you think about 4 generations of his parents were all what? In other words, he's the 5th generation. Look at the level of sacrifice. And so when Gary Skinner is praying, every time he lifts his hands, Lord, the God of my father. God says, yeah. Because he has a whole generation of what? People who have served sacrificially as missionaries with so much sacrifice. So when he starts to go somewhere to raise money, in one offering he gets $1 million. You understand that? But when you call Biekwaso, who is coming from what? Ziweta. Yeah? From generation to generation, for them they have been eating dead bodies in Bukunja. Every generation has cried. Eh? And for him, when he starts to pray, the God of my father, what will show up? Because that is the God of his father. Eh? So that's why you denounce that past, and you can, so that you can be totally free. Hey, thank you for being observant. You can switch it off. Leave it. It's okay. Okay, leave it. So you can sit now. I think I've made the point. You can all sit down. I want to end with the question about institutions. Can institutions also have this problem? Yeah? Can institutions also have such a problem? Let me show you something here. I've picked that particular one. Listen to the story. Here. When the Europeans went to America, the indigenous people were called Red Indians. They called them Red Indians because they thought that was India when they first named them Red Indians. But they are the indigenous people of America. So they started to fight the Red Indians. Later on, they agreed we shouldn't keep fighting. Let's coexist. Allow us to settle. You remember that issue. So one day, these whites called the 20 chiefs of the Red Indians, settled it and said, let's not fight. And then the Red Indians accepted, and then they prepared a meal the whites, the Europeans, and he poisoned all the 20 chiefs. He poisoned all of them. The one who had not come was called Tecumseh. Tecumseh, who did not come for that. He was a visionary leader, and he was so upset when his colleagues were poisoned. Now, he spoke a curse to this effect. Let's read it together. Harrison will win next year to be the great chief. That is being president. He will die in his office. I, who caused the sun to darken and red men to give up firewater, tell you Harrison will die. And after him, every great chief chosen every 20 years thereafter will die. And when each one dies, let everyone remember the death of our people. That is the curse he spoke when the Europeans killed the 20 of their chiefs. Now look at the impact of that curse. Look at these presidents of the United States. Harrison died in office. Abraham Lincoln died in office. He was shot. James Abraham Garfield assassinated. So you see this? How many are those? 5. Do you remember John F. Kennedy? Now, in 1980, when Ronald Reagan was elected, the Christians had noted this curse, which had taken 140 what? Years. So they came to Ronald Reagan. You know, they elect in November. So in December, they came to him and said, do you see, you are the one next. You are going to die in office. That was before he saw, you know, it is 20th of January that the president is what? Is sworn in. Election is in November, but the swearing in is 20th of January. So he was so scared. He said, what do I do? So they told him, we as priests have power to repent of the sins of our ancestors. Number 2, once we repent, we have power to break that curse. So he accepted. So before they brought that throne of the presidency, he knelt down. They repented of the injustice that they had done to the Red Indians. And after repentance, they put their hands upon him and they broke that curse off the presidency of the United States. Does that make sense? So they used the throne, the chair of the throne of the president, and broke the curse off that throne. Now look at what happened. So on March 30th, that is 70 days later, now Ronald Reagan has now become what? A president. Behind curses are demons. Spirits follow curses to enforce them. Behind every curse there is a what? A demon, which makes sure that curse is what? Active. So when Ronald Reagan sat on that, on the 30th, 70 days later, an assassin, the man was called John Hinckley, attempted to assassinate Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan is coming out. You are going to see him right here. And he was walking out just 70 days. This is the one. Ronald Reagan is here. And as he walked out, this young man opened fire on Reagan because a girl, so he looked for something to do to attract attention, and he decided to shoot at the president from nowhere. No big issue. And so by the time all that is done, Ronald Reagan is rushed into St. George Hospital, and the bullet was 2 millimeters from the heart. The bullet had managed to enter and was just 2 millimeters from this heart. And they removed the bullet and they treated him, and Ronald Reagan survived because the curse had been what? Broken. And Ronald Reagan, this is his assistant and many others. So he survived. Why? Because these Christians had prayed and broke the curse over the presidency He completed his 2 terms in office and later died a natural death. Can we break curses? Yes, curses can be broken. Can be broken. So you should be the one to clap most. Now, what is the next 20 years after 1980? It is what? 2000. Who was elected in 2000? George Bush. Do you know what happened in 2001? Right after he was inaugurated in office, what happened? The hijackers, September 11th. Do you remember? The 4th plane, the 2 hit the Trade Center. The 3rd one hit the Pentagon, which is not far from the White House. The 4th was intended for the what? The White House to kill George Bush. Remember, behind curses are what? Demons. So these people are determined, and they were going to kill the president in September 2001, who had been elected in 2000. You understand that? Fortunately, this 4th plane, the people who were in it, they fought the Americans in the 4th plane, got message that all the others had hit, so they knew they were all going to die. So they decided to fight the hijackers, overpowered them, and before they took over the plane, the hijacker crash-landed the plane in Pennsylvania instead of the White House. And that's how George Bush survived. That term was completed, and the 2nd term, and he never died in what? In office. What is the next 2020? Who was elected in 2020? Biden. Now we're waiting Biden to complete his what? Now, but the institution can, you understand that? He completed his 2 terms in office and is still what? Alive. So that does answer the question you asked. Institutions can have that. Yes, the time when we meet together next time, we'll handle that particular instance, how we can identify those, and then we can deal with them. Every new office where you are appointed, listen to this. If tomorrow you are appointed in a new position, and you enter a certain institution, don't just enter, because you are sitting on a throne that may have been dedicated. And the person before you may have dedicated it through witchcraft. And so it starts to affect you. You wonder why you can't perform. You're okay at home. The moment you enter the office, you are sick, or you get confused, or you get what, or you get what. You wonder why. It's only when you are in office that anybody who has experienced that, don't put up your hand. But you note it. You note it because these are some of the things that you need to learn and understand. I think I've answered the questions. The same with the houses. The same with the houses where you go, you buy a house. You are not the one who built it. You buy a house, it may have been dedicated. Yes, you had a question.
Yeah, Bishop, thank you so much for, like you said, we can take a week discussing some of these things. But Bishop, where do you draw the line between the curse, not because I don't believe in that, and sin?
Generational sins result into generational curses. A sin is what you commit. A curse is what comes out of. There is the sin, eternally, its consequences, its punishment is death. But while here on earth, its consequences are curses, poverty, failure, defeat. Let me use Adam. God told him, the day you eat thereof, you shall die. Did he physically die? No. But spiritually, he died. That spiritual death is the punishment of sin. He died later, 930 years later, but he brought death. That's why all of us are dying here. Some of you are saying curses don't affect. The curse of Adam is still affecting all of us. That's why we physically die. He physically died, but that's not the punishment of sin. That is the consequence of sin. Physical death is not the punishment of sin. Physical death is the consequence. One of the other consequences are poverty, failure, diseases. All these problems we suffer are not the punishment of sin. They are the consequences of sin. Does that make sense now? Okay. Everybody will answer for his sin. That is the punishment. But the consequences we all suffer, including children who are innocent. They suffer the consequences of sin, but not the punishment of what? Of sin. The children that you asked about, they don't suffer the punishment. They suffer the what? The consequences, not the punishment of sin. Yes.
Thank you very much, Bishop, for that enlightening message. I just want to know, if you do not know your father and probably what they did, including the clan on his side, how do you go about it?
You even don't need to know them. You don't even need to know them. Take an example of this one that we have just covered. They didn't know. They knew something had happened, but they didn't even know who did or whatever. It's not necessary. What is necessary is that when you are dealing with it, many times the Lord may. Some of you get dreams. Some of the things you can see them in dreams. For example, every time let me give you an example of a lady who is a Ugandan, was born here in Busoga, and she was living in London. So she had me teach this earlier, and then sometime later she called me. It was in the middle of the night, around 1 a.m., and said, "Pastor, I have gotten this dream again." I said, "Which dream?" He said, "Every time I dream a leopard, I know things are going to be what? Bad. When I dream of a leopard, if I'm going to sit for an interview, I know I'm going to fail. If I'm going to sit for an exam, I know I'll fail." She said she was doing SCCA. And she said twice before I dreamt it when I was going to sit these papers, and I failed. So I have a man in my life. I've had so many coming, engage me. And when I get this dream, I know that something is going to what? To fail. And now I have a man who agreed, he said he's going to marry me, and we're meeting today to go to the council to now I've dreamt, I know it is going to fail. He said, sometime back I called my mother in the village here in Uganda. She lives in London. He said, I called my mother, and I told her about this dream, about this leopard. She said, mwana wange, tokwata kungo eyo. Tata omwe yafandi muto, engeyo yebakuma. Now, that is the mother. The mother said, your father died when you were still young, and that leopard is the family what? Protector. Now, this is how these spirits manifest. This is a curse. The mother thinks it is for them. You know, when your parents, when your ancestors die, like when Ziweta dies, he's locked. He can't come back. But the devil knows that people respect their ancestors. So he has to come and appear in form of their ancestors, the people they respect. So it's not your grandfather Ziweta who has appeared to you. It is a spirit, it's a demon appearing in the form of your grandfather, grandmother, because they know once you see your grandmother, say, oh, your mother may appear in the picture, but it's not him or her. It is a spirit, a demon that seeks entry in your life and camouflages as your what? As your relative. So I told her that leopard is a curse. Behind that curse is this leopard, the spirit manifesting the leopard. We are going to break it, and I did. And she later on got married. She came back here, got a man, got married, and then took the man back to what? To England. So you can be free from those what? Those dreams where you dream you were about to score in the dream, and then you came out when you had not scored. Or every time you see yourself in a picture in your village where you grew up, in a ramshackle structure, akayumba kakote mumbina bina buli kaseera olaba mwaka akayumba So that is, those are the dreams that indicate you are dealing with a spirit of what? Retrogression. You go 3 steps forward, something little happens, and you go 5 steps backward. You say, no, now I've made that mistake. Now I'm going to start over again. You go 7 steps forward, you make 1 mistake, and you go 10 steps. So it's like all the time you're moving, and you're not making any progress. People ask you, you've been working for 20, you have nothing to show for it. As you get something, something happens, and you lose it all. And you start all over again. And that is a spirit of what? Retrogression, manifesting in those pictures, these dreams. You see yourself in the dream holding these coins. You're always having these many coins, or very old 1,000 notes. Instead of Bizike, even when in the dream, the Bizike was brought and you looked at it.
Bishop.
Okay.
Thank you very much. That was quite informative, and